Welcome to my channel FemVision. I never imagined that a simple dare could unravel my life. Or at least the version of myself that I thought I had under control. My name is Alex, and for most of my friends I'm just a regular guy. Tall, slightly awkward, with a sarcastic sense of humor that keeps people at a comfortable distance. But beneath the surface, there's a secret I've never fully shared with anyone. Not even Isabella, my girlfriend. I've always had a fascination with exploring femininity, not as a public hobby but as a private escape. Sometimes it's about the thrill of wearing clothes society labels for girls, sometimes it's about curiosity, and sometimes it's just about wanting to be someone else for a little while. The dare started innocuously enough during a weekend hangout with friends. We were in my cramped apartment, the kind that only city living could offer. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen that doubled as a living room, and windows that gave a partial view of the bustling streets below. My roommate Jake had been nudging me about my little secret, teasing me about the way I sometimes bought makeup online or lingered over women's clothing racks. I tried to laugh it off, but the truth is, the teasing always carried an edge of truth, and it made me feel both exposed and oddly excited. "Bet you couldn't pull it off," Jake said, smirking with that irritating confidence of someone who thrives on other people's discomfort. "I dare you to dress up and go out for an hour. I'll even post a picture if you survive without anyone noticing." Sounded absurd, humiliating even, but a spark ignited somewhere deep in me. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the part of me that secretly craved the attention I'd never let myself ask for. And maybe, just maybe, it was the thrill of proving Jake wrong. I agreed before my brain could intervene. That night I stood in front of my small bedroom mirror, a dozen options spread across my bed. Dresses in soft pastels, skirts that swirled in gentle waves, tops that clung in ways I'd never dared for my own body. There were shoes too, heels that made my legs tremble in both fear and anticipation. And then there was the makeup. I hadn't practiced in weeks, but my fingers moved instinctively, blending foundation, mascara, and lipstick until my reflection became something almost unrecognizable yet undeniably me. I took a deep breath. The person staring back was both Alex and someone entirely new. My chest fluttered with excitement, my hands shook slightly as I tugged the wig into place. This wasn't just about winning a dare anymore. It was about stepping into a persona I'd only ever imagined. When I opened the door, Jake's jaw dropped. "Holy wow," he muttered, his usual smirk replaced with disbelief. My friends who had come over to watch the spectacle couldn't stop staring, some with wide-eyed admiration, others with laughter caught in their throats. I couldn't help but grin nervously, adjusting the hem of my dress. The sensation was electric. The soft fabric brushing against my skin, the unfamiliar weight of heels anchoring me to a new rhythm, the mirror reflecting a version of me that felt bold, confident, and terrifying all at once. As I stepped out onto the street, I felt every eye on me, though I knew many weren't even looking directly. The city around me, lights, cars, the hum of nightlife, blurred into a backdrop for the most surreal experience of my life. For the first time I felt the power and peril of transformation. The thrill of being seen, the fear of being recognized, the intoxicating mix of vulnerability and confidence. I wandered through the neighborhood, my heels clicking softly on the pavement, each step a tiny battle with gravity and my own nervous energy. People smiled at me, some complimenting my outfit, others offering fleeting glances of curiosity. No one suspected that underneath the makeup and the wig I was still Alex, the same awkward guy who had spilled coffee on his shirt that morning. Every smile, every comment, every glance felt like a test, and I realized that my heart was racing not just from the dare, but from the realization that this secret hidden side of me could exist in the world, and be accepted. And then came Isabella. She had promised to meet me later that evening for dinner, completely unaware of my little experiment. I froze when I saw her walking toward me, radiant in her own effortless way, her eyes catching mine with that mixture of curiosity and concern she always had. I could feel my heartbeat thundering, my pulse echoing in my ears. Would she recognize me? Would she see through the layers of fabric, makeup, and persona? Or would she think I was just another woman out on the street, a stranger passing by in the glow of city lights? The moment stretched, the suspense crushing me with its intensity. My legs trembled slightly, not from the heels, but from the fear and excitement coursing through me. Every instinct screamed to run, to hide, to revert to the familiar comfort of Alex, but a stronger part of me, the part that had embraced Emily, the persona I had slipped into for the dare, urged me forward. As Isabella came closer, the world seemed to slow. Her gaze lingered, searching, questioning, and then she smiled. A soft, incredulous, knowing smile. "Alex?" she asked, her voice tinged with disbelief but warm, inviting. I hesitated, caught between laughter and panic, before finally allowing myself to respond, my voice a mix of Alex's uncertainty and Emily's poise. It's me," I said, heart hammering, breath shallow. And in that moment everything shifted. The dare had started as a joke, a challenge, a fleeting thrill. But now it had opened a door into a new world where my secret life was exposed, where my identity blurred, and where the line between Alex and Emily had begun to dissolve. The evening stretched before us, charged with the unknown. Isabella's curiosity, my adrenaline, and the intoxicating mix of fear and excitement created a tension I had never experienced. And as we walked together under the streetlights, the click of my heels mingling with her soft laughter, I realized that this night, this simple dare, was about to change everything. The days after that first dare were a blur. What had started as a joke had morphed into something much more intoxicating and terrifying. My life as Alex had always been predictable, the rhythms of work, friends, and occasional weekends with Isabella forming a comfortable pattern. But now Emily, the version of me who could glide into a dress, perfect her makeup and command attention, was tugging at the edges of my reality. It began with the small things. I found myself lingering in clothing stores, not just to browse but to imagine myself in different outfits, textures, and colors. High heels that once seemed laughable now held a magnetic allure. The way they shifted my posture, elongated my legs, and changed the way the world perceived me made every step feel like both a challenge and a thrill. Makeup became more than a tool. It was armor and expression, a way to sculpt a persona that was both daring and mesmerizing. Jake, of course, noticed. "You're getting serious about this," he said one night, leaning against my bedroom doorframe with that smirk that never failed to rile me. "I mean, it's more than a dare now, isn't it?" I flushed, caught between embarrassment and pride. "It's not just for fun anymore," I admitted, trying to keep my voice casual, though it trembled slightly. "Feels right. Weirdly right." Jake raised an eyebrow, the smirk softening into curiosity. "Right. Just don't let Isabella see you like this without a warning, man. You know how she is." I nodded, though the thought of Isabella discovering this secret, my hidden life, sent a shiver down my spine. Her perception of me, the trust we shared, and the fear of judgment were all now part of the equation. Yet beneath that fear was an undeniable thrill, a rush that came from walking the fine line between exposure and secrecy. I began spending more evenings alone, experimenting with different looks, practicing my walk in heels, perfecting eyeliner flicks, and learning to blend foundation with precision. Mirrors became my confidants, reflecting the transformation from Alex to Emily with every stroke of a brush or adjustment of a wig. Each session left me breathless, excited, and a little afraid. I was stepping deeper into a world that felt both liberating and perilous. One evening, as I stood in my room adjusting a knee-length pastel dress, I caught sight of myself in the full-length mirror. The reflection staring back was stunning, almost surreal. Slender legs encased in sheer stockings, delicate heels that elevated my stature, a soft curve to my hips accentuated by the dress, and a face transformed by subtle makeup that highlighted eyes and lips I had only dreamed of perfecting. For a moment I forgot who I was supposed to be, lost in the allure of Emily. Then the panic would set in. Would anyone recognize me? Could I walk down the street without fear? Most of all, what if Isabella found out? Her reaction had been a mixture of surprise and intrigue the first night, but I knew curiosity could quickly shift to concern, confusion, or even rejection. And yet, I wanted to see how far I could push it. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Jake, ever the instigator, suggested a little social experiment. "You got the look down. Now let's see if you can fool the real world. A cafe. Noon. Full exposure. Bet you can't last an hour without anyone figuring it out." I hesitated, heart hammering. The thrill was undeniable, but so was the fear. This wasn't just my private transformation anymore. It was public, visible, and completely unguarded. But the part of me that had tasted the exhilaration of Emily urged me forward. "Fine," I said finally. "I'll do it. But only if you come too, and don't embarrass me." Jake grinned, snapping his fingers. "Oh, it's on. Prepare for the ultimate test." The next day I prepared with meticulous care. Every detail mattered. My hair, long, smooth and perfectly styled, cascaded over my shoulders. Makeup enhanced my features, giving me a feminine softness that Alex could never muster. The dress, a soft lavender chiffon, swayed delicately with every step, and the heels, though daunting, gave me a new rhythm, a new presence. Walking out of my apartment, I felt exposed in a way I had never anticipated. Eyes turned, whispers floated, and I caught glimpses of admiration, curiosity, and even envy. My pulse quickened with every step. I had become Emily, not a costume, not a dare, but a living, breathing persona that challenged everything I thought I knew about myself. At the cafe, I chose a table near the window, attempting casual posture, sipping coffee with delicate precision. People glanced, some bold enough to smile or compliment my outfit. Each interaction sent a jolt of adrenaline through me, a cocktail of fear and exhilaration. I was performing, yes, but also existing in a space where Emily could breathe, where Alex could hide just beneath the surface. Then came the moment that changed everything. The barista, a young woman with sharp eyes and a friendly smile, leaned over. "You look amazing," she said softly. "Are you modeling or something?" I laughed nervously, cheeks heating. "Just trying something new," I said, avoiding the truth that I was Alex, playing Emily for a dare and now for discovery. The minutes stretched into an hour, each second a test of composure. My mind raced, imagining Isabella walking in, friends recognizing me, someone suspecting the truth. Every brush of a hand, every glance felt loaded with consequence. And yet, I couldn't stop. The thrill was too intoxicating, the sense of liberation too profound. By the time I left, my legs ached, my chest fluttered, and my heart felt like it was both soaring and in free fall. Emily had survived her first public test, and the experience left me craving more, even as fear and doubt crept in. Could I maintain this balance? Could I explore this side of myself without losing everything I valued? Back in my apartment, I collapsed onto the bed, heels kicked off, makeup smudged slightly from the day's excitement. I stared at the ceiling, mind racing. Jake was ecstatic, already teasing me about how convincing I had been, but I couldn't shake the internal conflict. Part of me wanted to embrace Emily fully, explore every thrill, and indulge in the secret freedom of this persona. Another part, Alex, worried about consequences, judgment, and the fragile threads of my life that might unravel if anyone discovered the truth. And then came Isabella's text. "Hey, I had the weirdest dream last night. Or maybe it wasn't a dream. Can you meet me later?" My heart skipped. Was she on to me? Had she somehow figured out the dare, the transformation, the secret that I had tried so hard to contain? The suspense was unbearable. I knew one thing for certain. Emily was no longer a private experiment. She was about to collide with the real world in ways I had never imagined. That night, as I prepared again, blending makeup and adjusting dresses, I realized that the game had changed. What had started as a playful dare had become a delicate dance of identity, fear, and desire. Every glance in the mirror, every step in heels, every brush of lipstick reminded me that I was teetering on the edge of something thrilling and terrifying. And as the door closed behind me, Emily fully inhabiting my body and my presence, I knew one thing. There was no turning back. The moment I stepped out of my apartment the next evening, the city felt different. Emily wasn't just a persona anymore. She was a lens through which the world would see me, a version of myself walking boldly into a world filled with curiosity and scrutiny. My heels clicked against the pavement, each step a deliberate assertion of confidence and a challenge to my own nerves. Jake had insisted on joining me again, eager to watch the chaos unfold, or the awestruck faces, as he put it. But there was an unspoken tension between us. He was a witness to Emily, yes, but also a constant reminder that one slip, one wrong glance could reveal everything. I could feel the weight of expectation pressing down on my shoulders, yet the thrill coursing through me was almost addictive. We arrived at the social event Jake had found, a small but lively gallery opening in the heart of the city. People milled about, glasses in hand, dressed to impress and chattering animatedly. The moment I stepped inside, I realized just how exposed I truly was. This was no cafe, no casual street outing. This was a room full of strangers, some of whom might know Isabella or even Alex in passing. I felt my heart hammering in my chest as we moved further in. Jake kept whispering observations, pointing out potential allies and threats, but I could barely focus. Every reflection in the glossy surfaces, every gaze, every passing smile made me hyper-aware of the thin line I was walking. Emily had to exist perfectly. One faltering step, one slip in composure, and the secret would unravel. And then it happened. A group of young women approached, laughing and holding drinks. One of them, a striking brunette, glanced at me with curiosity that quickly shifted to admiration. "I love your dress," she said. "And your makeup. Wow, you're gorgeous." The words hit me like a jolt of electricity. Part of me wanted to shrink back, to duck into anonymity, but Emily wouldn't allow it. "Thank you," I said, my voice careful, smooth, and unmistakably feminine. A smile, one that was both Emily's and mine, curved across my lips, and for a moment I felt untouchable. Jake, standing slightly behind me, gave a thumbs up. But the moment was fleeting. Across the room, a man I recognized, one of Isabella's co-workers, looked up. My stomach dropped. His gaze lingered on me, a slow recognition dawning in his eyes. I froze. The fear hit first. What if he had somehow known Alex and now realized the truth? The thrill vanished in an instant, replaced by a cold panic that made my legs feel like jelly. Every heartbeat sounded deafening, every breath shallow. Jake's hand landed lightly on my shoulder. "Relax. You've got this. Just keep walking, keep smiling." I nodded, trying to steady myself. Emily had to survive this. My walk had to be perfect, my posture flawless. Every movement became an act of control, a delicate performance balancing reality and deception. Then came the slip. A sudden push from someone brushing past in the crowded gallery sent me staggering slightly. One heel caught on the edge of a rug, and for a terrifying second I nearly fell. My dress swayed, exposing more than I intended, and my heart jumped to my throat. "Careful," a voice exclaimed. I caught myself, cheeks burning, but maintained as much composure as possible. Emily couldn't falter. Not now, not here. I moved with deliberate grace, every step measured, every gesture intentional. And yet, the adrenaline was overwhelming, making my fingers tremble as I adjusted my hair and smoothed the skirt of my dress. The room felt smaller now, the air thick with tension. Every glance, every whisper seemed amplified. And then I saw her. Isabella. She hadn't been expected. I knew it. And yet, there she was, gliding through the crowd with her usual poise, eyes scanning the room until they landed squarely on me. Time slowed. I could feel the duality inside me. Alex, panicked and desperate to hide, and Emily, poised and confident, standing tall despite the pounding of fear in my chest. Isabella's brow lifted slightly, her gaze sharp, curious, assessing, and my stomach twisted in knots. She was walking toward me. "Emily?" Her voice held hesitation, a mix of recognition and confusion. My throat went dry. Every instinct screamed at me to flee, to retreat into Alex, to strip away the facade and hope she would understand. But Emily wasn't going anywhere. Not now, not after the months of preparation, the late nights experimenting, the adrenaline, the liberation. I smiled. Hey, I said, voice steady but laced with nerves. Her eyes narrowed, scanning my face, the dress, the makeup. Then she stepped closer, studying me with an intensity that was almost unbearable. My pulse raced, my hands trembled slightly, but I forced myself to remain Emily. "Is this really you?" she asked softly, a question loaded with emotion. Surprise, disbelief, and a hint of admiration all mingled in her tone. Before I could answer, the gallery lights flickered. A photographer snapped a picture nearby, the flash illuminating the space. I blinked rapidly, trying to maintain composure, and in that instant, a wig pin slipped, letting a strand of my hair fall awkwardly across my cheek. Panic surged. Every eye seemed to notice. My hands flew to adjust the wig, and I could feel my pulse in my temples. Emily's flawless exterior was cracking, and the secret I had guarded so fiercely threatened to spill into the open. Jake rushed to my side. "Quick, the bar over there, let's get some space," he whispered urgently. I nodded, following him toward a quieter corner, my mind spinning. Isabella trailed silently behind, her gaze never leaving me. She wasn't angry yet, but the tension was palpable, the curiosity sharp. The moment demanded honesty, but the truth was complicated. Emily had become more than a dare. She was a living expression of me that I wasn't ready to dismantle. As we reached the corner, I leaned against the wall, taking a shuddering breath. The relief was temporary. The gallery was no longer just a challenge. It had become a crucible. Every interaction, every glance, every whisper could reveal me, undoing everything I had built. And then the twist I hadn't anticipated. Isabella reached out, brushing her fingers lightly against my arm. Her touch was gentle, almost intimate, and yet it carried an intensity that made my knees weak. "Alex, or Emily?" she murmured, voice low, teasing but probing. The room seemed to shrink around me. Every heartbeat echoed in my ears. I was trapped in this persona, caught between thrill and fear, desire and danger, curiosity and revelation. And as her eyes held mine, I realized that the night had only begun. The stakes had escalated beyond a simple dare. Emily was real, visible, and now, completely exposed to the one person whose opinion mattered most. I smiled, a flicker of Emily's confidence shining through, though my heart raced with panic. "Both. Maybe," I whispered, knowing that any answer could tip the balance, that any slip could destroy the delicate web of secrecy I had spun. The climax had arrived. The thrill, the fear, the temptation, all converged in a single impossible moment. And I knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever be the same again. The gallery seemed to hold its breath around us. Isabella's eyes were fixed on me, scanning every detail: the dress, the makeup, the carefully styled hair. And yet, there was a question lingering behind her gaze, a tension that I could almost taste. Emily and Alex were intertwined in a delicate, impossible balance, and in this moment I couldn't tell which version she, or I, was responding to her. I didn't expect to see you here," Isabella said, voice quiet, almost hesitant. There was a mixture of surprise, curiosity, and something else I couldn't quite identify. Admiration? Amusement? Something sharper, more probing? My pulse raced, every nerve on edge. Jake, sensing the gravity of the moment, moved subtly behind me, his presence both reassuring and a stark reminder that the dare, the challenge, the game we had started, had escalated far beyond anything I had imagined. I swallowed hard, trying to maintain composure as Emily. The persona I had built, the one that walked with confidence, laughed with charm, and charmed strangers, was being tested in a way that nothing else had prepared me for. And yet, beneath the surface, Alex's fear churned, a warning that this line between daring fun and outright exposure was thinner than ever. Isabella stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. "You look different," she murmured almost to herself. "But there's something familiar too. Something I can't quite place." My heart skipped a beat. I could feel Emily trembling in a way that mirrored Alex's panic. Every fiber of my being screamed that I should retreat, that I should reveal the truth, strip away the layers of makeup, remove the dress, and hope she would understand. But the thrill of Emily, the power, the freedom, the subtle rush of defiance, was intoxicating. "Different how?" I asked, voice steady, trying to sound playful to maintain the illusion. Isabella tilted her head, studying me like a puzzle she was determined to solve. "It's hard to explain. You're confident, bold, but also vulnerable, fragile even, and yet somehow perfect." The words cut through me like a blade, sharp and electrifying. Emily's persona shone in them, a reflection of the power I had cultivated. But Alex's fear flared simultaneously. How could she think I was perfect when the truth was teetering on the edge of discovery? Before I could respond, a flash from a camera lit the corner of the room. Someone had taken a picture nearby, the sudden burst of light making my heart lurch. My fingers instinctively went to adjust the wig, and for the briefest moment, a stray strand fell across my face, breaking the flawless image Emily had so meticulously constructed. Isabella's eyes flickered to the hair, then back to mine, a knowing smile playing on her lips. Interesting." My stomach twisted. Was that curiosity? Amusement? Suspicion? I couldn't tell. The ambiguity only heightened the tension, leaving me teetering between relief and terror. Jake leaned in, whispering urgently, "We should go now, before she starts asking too many questions." I nodded subtly, trying to keep my expression neutral, but the weight of the moment pressed down on me. Every instinct screamed that I should flee, yet the thought of escaping felt like abandoning Emily entirely. A persona I had nurtured, experimented with, and now lived, even if only temporarily. As we edged toward the exit, Isabella followed. Her steps were quiet but deliberate, her gaze fixed on me with an intensity that made my heart race. I could feel every inch of her scrutiny, every subtle shift of expression, every micro-reaction to the way I moved, the way I spoke, the way Emily carried herself. And then just as we reached the threshold of the gallery, she spoke again. "You know," she said softly, almost teasingly, "I'm starting to think you're enjoying this more than you should be. More than I expected." I froze. The words held a double meaning, a challenge wrapped in a statement, and my mind spun. Did she know? Did she suspect? Or was she simply observing, intrigued by this version of me that was alive, confident, and dangerously captivating? Before I could answer, the gallery door swung open wider, letting in the cool evening air, carrying the distant hum of traffic and city life. The space felt enormous suddenly, filled with endless possibilities, and endless dangers. Isabella stepped closer, closing the gap just slightly, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Emily, or Alex. I don't know which I like better." The words sent a shiver down my spine. Everything hung in balance. My secret, my thrill, my desire for acceptance, and the pulse-quickening fear of discovery. One wrong move, one careless glance, and it would all unravel. I smiled, a flicker of Emily's charm shining through, though my heart pounded with Alex's anxiety. "Maybe, you'll find out soon enough," I whispered, letting the ambiguity linger, teasing the line between truth and illusion. Isabella's lips curved into a smile, enigmatic and unreadable, before she turned slightly, walking back into the gallery with a subtle sway, leaving me standing there, heart hammering, knees weak and mind racing. Jake exhaled beside me. "That was intense." I nodded, knowing it was more than intense. It was a turning point. Emily had survived the gallery, but the encounter with Isabella had shifted everything. The thrill, the danger, the exposure, it was no longer just a dare. It was a game where the stakes had become real, and where one wrong move could mean losing more than just a persona. As we stepped out into the street, the night air cool against my flushed skin, I realized the truth. Emily had become more than a dare, more than a fantasy, more than an experiment. She was a living, breathing challenge, one that I wasn't sure I could control anymore. And Isabella, she had seen just enough to make me question everything. The street lights glinted off the pavement as we walked in silence, the city alive around us, and I couldn't help but wonder. Would she confront me? Would she accept the truth if I revealed it? Or would Emily's world crumble, leaving Alex exposed, vulnerable, and utterly trapped? The answer wasn't coming tonight. All I knew was that the game had changed. The dare had ended, but the challenge had only begun. And somewhere deep inside I knew, I wasn't ready to give up Emily. Not yet.